Death made the young boy a man. In the heart of a Nigerian rural village, where the scent of wet earth and the sounds of nature's symphony filled the air, a 16-year-old boy named Tunde lived a life of unbridled freedom. With a mop of unruly hair and a grin that could charm the birds from the trees, Tunde was the epitome of carefree youth. He spent his days exploring the surrounding forests, playing football with his friends, and getting into all sorts of mischief. But Tunde's life was not without its challenges. His family struggled to make ends meet, with his father, Baba, working tirelessly as a farmer to provide for their small household. Tunde's mother, Mama, was a skilled weaver, but her income was meager, and the family often went to bed with empty stomachs. Despite these hardships, Tunde's parents instilled in him a strong sense of values and morals, hoping that one day he would rise above their circumstances and make a better life for himself. Tragedy struck one fateful day when Baba fell ill. The family's limited resources were stretched to the breaking point as they struggled to afford medical care. Tunde's world was turned upside down as he watched his father's condition deteriorate. The once strong and vibrant man was reduced to a shadow of his former self, and Tunde felt powerless to stop the inevitable. Baba's passing left the family reeling. Tunde's mother was consumed by grief, and the weight of responsibility fell squarely on Tunde's shoulders. With no money, no guidance, and a grieving mother, Tunde was forced to confront the harsh realities of life. His carefree attitude, once a source of joy, now felt like a burden as he struggled to survive. Hunger, debts, and desperation pushed Tunde further into dangerous paths. He began to associate with a group of older boys who introduced him to a world of petty crime and street life. Tunde's mother, though grief-stricken, tried to warn him of the dangers of this lifestyle, but her words fell on deaf ears. Tunde was too caught up in the thrill of the moment to listen. It wasn't until a tragic near-death experience shook him to his core that Tunde began to see the error of his ways. He had been involved in a botched robbery attempt, and a violent confrontation with the owner of the store had left him battered and bruised. As he lay in the hospital, staring death in the face, Tunde realized that he had been given a second chance. The tears of his mother, who had been by his side throughout his ordeal, were the only thing that truly reached his heart. They awakened a sense of responsibility within him, and Tunde knew that he had to make a change. He began to work odd jobs to support his family, and slowly but surely, he started to rebuild his life. As the months passed, Tunde's determination and hard work began to bear fruit. He landed a job at a local construction site, and his income increased significantly. He was finally able to provide for his family, and the weight of responsibility that had once felt like a burden now felt like a privilege. But Tunde's journey was far from over. He knew that he needed to acquire new skills and knowledge if he was to truly escape the cycle of poverty. So, he made the bold decision to leave his village and head to the city, where he hoped to find better opportunities. The city was a daunting place, full of towering skyscrapers and endless streams of people rushing to and fro. But Tunde was undaunted. He found work as a laborer on a construction site, and he threw himself into his work, determined to succeed. As the months turned into years, Tunde's hard work and determination began to pay off. He rose through the ranks, becoming a skilled carpenter and eventually starting his own business. He was finally able to provide for his family in a way that he never thought possible. But more than that, Tunde had found a sense of peace and redemption. He had faced his demons and overcome them, and he had emerged stronger and wiser as a result. He knew that he would always carry the scars of his past with him, but he also knew that he had been given a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. As Tunde looked out over the city, he felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had come a long way from the carefree boy he once was, and he knew that he owed it all to the lessons he had learned along the way. His father's death had been a tragedy, but it had also been a catalyst for change. It had forced Tunde to grow up, to take responsibility for himself and his family, and to find a new sense of purpose in life. In the end, Tunde's story was one of triumph over tragedy, of redemption and personal growth. As the years went by, Tunde's business flourished, and he became a respected member of his community. He never forgot his humble beginnings, and always made it a point to give back to those in need. He sponsored scholarships for underprivileged children, donated to local charities, and even built a community center in his village, where young people could come to learn and play. Tunde's mother, who had been his rock throughout his journey, couldn't be prouder of the man her son had become. She would often look at him with tears in her eyes, remembering the struggles they had faced and the sacrifices they had made. But most of all, she was grateful for the strong, responsible, and compassionate man Tunde had become. One day, Tunde decided to return to his village, where it all began. As he walked through the familiar streets, he was greeted with warm smiles and open arms. The villagers, who had known him since he was a boy, were amazed at the transformation they saw in him. They would often gather around him, listening in awe as he shared stories of his journey and the lessons he had learned along the way. Tunde's visit was a source of inspiration for the young people in the village. They saw in him a role model, someone who had risen above the challenges of poverty and had achieved greatness through hard work and determination. They would often approach him, seeking advice and guidance, and Tunde would gladly share his wisdom with them. As Tunde prepared to leave the village, the elders gathered around him, thanking him for being a shining example of what it means to be a responsible and compassionate member of society. They prayed for his continued success and prosperity, and Tunde, with tears in his eyes, thanked them for their kindness and support. As he walked away from the village, Tunde knew that he had finally found his place in the world. He had discovered his purpose, and he was living a life that was true to who he was. He knew that he would always carry the lessons of his past with him, but he also knew that he had been given a second chance, and he was determined to make the most of it. Years later, Tunde's story would be told and retold, inspiring generations to come. It would be a reminder that no matter where we come from, or what challenges we face, we all have the power to shape our own destiny. We all have the power to choose our own path, to learn from our mistakes, and to rise above our circumstances. And so, Tunde's journey would serve as a testament to the human spirit, a reminder that we are all capable of greatness, no matter what life throws our way.